What's going on, Asia? But welcome back to Beyond the 90. We've got again very special guests, as you see by this. We've got Diego over. Diego, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Neil. How about you?
We're doing okay. Again, we were just talking off camera about again the results pre-season, how it's all kind of went like this. But in terms of some positives that's come out just before the game was actually announced, um, Buonanotte was announced. I know you've just in terms of your background again, you've watched a bit of him before. You've got, I know you know a lot about South American football.
Yeah, I think it's a for what we have right now. I think it's obviously an upgrade to anything that we have right now in that center attacking mid position, and I think it's a really interesting deal that we had, and I think he'll definitely come in and help us in that department.
Okay, so what kind of so we've seen probably online left-footed player plays as a number 10, can play out wide on the right if necessary as well. But what kind of player are we getting?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think you're getting a player that's definitely gonna work for the team. His passing ability is amazing for what it could be. I think he his vision, creativity, that's there. I think 100% that he's capable of being able to pick out those passes. I think a couple South American friends that I know probably compared him a little bit to Madison in that type of, obviously not to the same level, but the ability, what he's capable of doing, he could play like Madison obviously if that's needed. I think obviously at Brighton, I think that's something that a lot of people have to remind themselves because um, or that they don't know is that he played on the right hand side pretty much the whole entire season for Brighton last season. And because of that, his numbers weren't that high. And obviously, I think that that's something that people should know because I think when the deal was first kind of announced or like talked about, I think a lot of people went on FB Rev, those types of websites, and completely like just I guess gave their opinion based on stats. And I think sometimes you can't really do that. You really have to have an eye for the player, look at the player, what he's done, and especially consider that he was played at a position. He is a number 10. He should be played centrally, and unfortunately, under the Zerbi last season, he didn't have that freedom, so he had to play on the right. And because of that, I think he suffered a lot, and I think in his development, it wasn't good enough. So for that
Mm.
reason, I think that we didn't get to see the Facundo that at least I know that he could be, and I think a lot of South Americans that have seen um, throughout the years Rosario Central and in Argentina in general, the capabilities that he has.
hmm It's a good point. It's an interesting point. I think we will probably, as you mentioned, we're probably going to play him more century. And that's probably one of the reasons why I wanted to come here. It's interesting that again, there's normally with these kind of deals, like you look at Gun and Fatau, there was a loan, but there was the option to buy. I think without sounding too pessimistic, I think we tried loads of different players and they just didn't work for whatever reason. So we've just got him in for the season. And then maybe you like so Will Alves will step up and Golding will step up once he's gone. But in terms of the player, I'm just checking he's got two caps for Argentina now. So obviously at 19 years old, 18, 19, it's still incredible considering the talent you've got coming out of Argentina. Do you think that's part of his reasoning for going on loan, to try and potentially get into the Argentina squad for or get more experience there?
Possibly. I mean, I would definitely say that if he has good performances with us, I wouldn't doubt why Scaloni wouldn't bring him up, and obviously he probably wouldn't like actually get minutes in the national team squad because it's extremely stacked at the moment. They're just losing talent from every single position. But he would definitely, I 100% believe that if he puts in performances for us, I wouldn't be surprised that he gets a call up. Um, but I think just to go back to the whole thing about that you were saying about like options to buy with this loan and stuff like that. I think Brighton know what they're doing with this negotiation. They clearly didn't give us an option to buy because they still see him as a very high value asset. So clearly they want to develop him, but they want to keep him. Obviously, their new manager came in, and I think he just wants him to develop clearly in the right position. And obviously, it seems like he's not going to get any game time this season, specifically as a starter. And I think they want him to get those minutes. that I think we could definitely provide him. And then from there on, see what they could do. Either keep him around and use him in the squad, or then potentially just sell him for a profit.
Yeah, makes sense. I think just looking at some of the bits that you mentioned as well, selling for that could be an option. It's something that we've seen us do before, and again, potentially they're using it as a business tactic. You can get him on loan, but then if he does really well for you, fall in love with the loan player, kind of like we did with Yuri Tillemans, then right, you got to sign him, charge you a stupid amount of money, which
Yeah,
could be part of it. So again, it's part of that as well. I want to talk about how we'll talk about it probably be the cam position. I've seen some things online in terms of his scouting can be quite just quite physical for somebody that's 174 centimeters as well. I want to mention about set pieces because I think that's one area that we really struggle with when it comes to corners and when it comes to especially from like in again a Madison replacement who was brilliant on set pieces. Do you think he could be the player that would step up and take these kind of set pieces?
I think he could. Right off the top of my mind, I can't remember if he was doing that at Brighton. He probably was. I think he can. I think, like I said, I think he's a creative enough player, and I think a player that really believes in his own ability. So I think he definitely could take them. I think it's worth a shot 100%. I think you give him that freedom and you give him the confidence, and I think that he'll deliver for you if he 100% feels comfortable and in good spirits.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Sounds good. Just just a couple of other questions. Well, one I want to say about when you heard the first news of him coming to Leicester City, what was your first reaction? Oh, that's a good signing, or yeah, that makes sense.
Oh no, 100%. I thought it was a good signing. I mean, not even just because I guess I'm biased and I love South American football and I've seen him before, but because I think I know the type of player that he is. We need that. We need that type of that player that can position that I think is fearless, likes to get in, could get scrappy if he needs to. But I think he's aware of obviously controlling that aggression that he has sometimes. And just like I said, just he loves playing killer through balls. He's not scared to create. And I think that's what we obviously needed. And I think that that's what we've seen in preseason, that we've lacked that. We haven't had a real number 10, and we have to makeshift players in that position that clearly uh, aren't necessarily tens, and that's been evident. So I think that you bring Facundo into the mix, and you let him play to his strengths, and I 100% believe that will be much more creative. And I think another thing that I remember that I was also saying when we were linked to Sole, I think that it's just the Argentinian I guess DNA to want to have to press and get the ball back as soon as possible, and he has that too. So that's big. To that he comes in, he could press, and he could definitely get the ball back. He doesn't mind doing dirty work. I think he could do it 100%.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's good to hear because at the end of the day, with the formation, we're not going to. Well, I would say we're not going to have the majority of the foot. We just don't know what we're going to do with
Yeah.
Steve Cooper at the moment. The players and tactics have changed so much. The opposition, the teams have changed. So which again, I'm not sure, but just to kind of one thing that I was going to say, if we are going to play, I've got a gut feeling it's going to be a 4-2-3-1. So I've got you at the front like 5-6 here. So you've got Vardy up top. Ideally, this would be our strongest team at the moment. If Zaha does come in, then he probably comes on the left hand side. I haven't had him Avididi, but he's probably going to slot in that middle cam position that we've seen him do. We've seen like Madison do before. How do you think he would work with the likes of Fatau, Mavididi, maybe Zaha in that position? Because I think with the players around, especially with the likes of Jamie Vardy, as long as you serve him, he will put it in the back of the net. And I think if a player is creative, that's going to get the most out of him. And I think if we just let him do what he needs to going forward, I think we get a real player.
100%. I agree with you, Neil. I think that if you like I said, you give him the freedom, just just let him pass and do what he knows what to do, because he's great at that. He obviously that's one of his strong suits. He likes to take on players. He likes being direct, and obviously he rather probably at times probably pass the ball and try to get those killer through balls instead of maybe shooting. Obviously, if he has the opportunity, he will. But he's that type of player that will help you create, and especially with wingers of I think of the caliber of Atawu and Mavididi, or if Zaha comes in with their pace, I think you it's an amazing player in that position. I feel like for what we could have, I think brought in the options that we had. Obviously, I wouldn't say he was obviously the best option, but I think that on loan, without I guess any specific risk, because obviously he's going to go back and we have no obligation to buy. I think it's an amazing deal. I would say it's a plus deal. Obviously, it wasn't the deal that we all maybe a lot of us wanted, but I think for what we're getting out of him and what I think he's capable of doing, as long as he plays those through balls that he likes to play, and just goes on to be direct, I think 100% that he'll make a huge impact on the squad.
I'm hoping so, and I think giving him that running the team that I think we need, I think he could come in and do that position, especially with if you've got what we've seen so far in preseason, Harry Winks and probably Wilfred and Diddy as this kind of swapping back to as to kind of clean up that back line, give him the ball, let him make work his magic as well. In terms of is there any weaknesses you think of his as a player? Obviously, he's being 19, but he's still got 40 caps in Premier League football, which I think is still impressive. But any weaknesses you think could come to mind?
I mean, I think like I said, maybe the shooting. I think he could definitely improve his own shot. I think sometimes yeah, that's not probably one of his greatest things. I think it's just the typical South American that has amazing technical skills and it has amazing creativity. So maybe he'll take a shot, but he might score. But I think that that's definitely something that we could improve him on long shots, finishing in general. But I think that for me, I think it's you want that creativity, and he's going to give you that creativity. So, and that's I think that's a big reason why we probably need those strikers or those other players offensively, so that maybe he doesn't have to take on that burden himself. If he needs to shoot, he could shoot, but that he has those players around him that can do that job. But to let him, create and do what he knows best.
Yeah, no, it sounds good, and it's something that I think you've been personally crying out for this for ages. Where why aren't we looking into the South American market? And obviously, Sule nearly happened, didn't happen. And then this again, we finally got Buonanotte. I think for the first time since Cambiasso, we've had an Argentinian in the team as well. So would you like to see the team kind of progress in this way and start recruit? Because I know I know it's a rhetorical question, but you've mentioned before we've been linked to Richard Rios and quite a few other teams as well, a few other players, but you want why do you think that the South American market is so brilliant for like Leicester City to really get into?
I think it's maybe not even one. I think is a price. I think the prices that you have in coming out of South America are pretty cheap. Clearly, some of these clubs are still in terms of money in the leagues and the revenue that comes in. It's not that much. It obviously is much more inferior compared to the Premier League or European leagues. So you could bring in an amazing player for a very cheap price. Um, I was gonna say, okay, Argentina's probably best defensive box to box midfield player and talent, Ezequiel Fernandez, went to Saudi Arabia for 20 million, and I 100% believe that he could play at the Premier League level. I know Arsenal was sniffing around him, um, and I think they obviously couldn't get that over the line. But 20 million for probably the best midfielder coming out of South America at the moment is ridiculously cheap. And I obviously believe that when you look at European clubs and you buy from European clubs uh, of high caliber, you're probably gonna pay almost like a premium fee just to get those players in. And in South America, you don't need to do that. I think it's like you need to get those specific talents out of the actual source instead of buying them away from other European clubs because they're obviously going to charge you premium. And I think you buy them from the source. Whether I think it'd be obviously for me Argentina, uh, you could go to Brazil. I think obviously the Colombian league, um, and I would even say right now I think the Paraguayan league too. All those leagues have amazing players that are coming out. I think of Ecuador too, but all those leagues have amazing players coming out. Obviously, players that I've looked at and that I've really liked, and I think that if you look into that market, I think you'll find a couple that can help, that can definitely help and improve the squad. I think if you want to see examples of teams doing that, Brighton, for example, I think Brighton's been doing that for a couple of years now, and they brought in a lot of players from South America, and I mean, it's helped them. I mean, they bought Alexis McAllister from Argentino Juniors, and he ended up leaving to Liverpool, and he's Liverpool's 10 now. So I think you see those types of players. They end up becoming big stars in the Premier League or the top five leagues. But you had to, in a sense, make and take a risk for those players. And that's what scouting's there for, to really make a decision in what players from South America to buy.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and I think you're right with McAllister being one of them. I think the other one, the big one for me, is in terms of the money aspect, is Caicedo from Ecuador. I think that one for the amount of money, and then Liverpool and Chelsea going head to head to try and get him, and I think we're what 115, in dollars, what's 130, 140, something
Yeah,
ridiculous. So
ridiculous. Yeah.
that's the one to probably, in my opinion, to look for. But yeah, Diego, again, it's been thanks so much again. You've been really insightful for that. Is there anything else you want to add, or is there any other things that we've not covered yet in terms of Buonanotte?
No, I don't think so. I think, like I said, in general, as a summary, I think we're getting in a really great player, and I think to everyone, I think I 100% believe that he'll probably try to hit the ground running, but obviously under the conditions that we're in right now, I think you also you have to have a little bit of patience with him, because if he's not played in the way that that suits his strengths, I think he's gonna struggle. And then I don't feel like it'd be right for us to completely bash him, and I think I think be extremely critical of him if I think we're clearly not playing him to his strengths, and making him obviously, I guess, get exposed and show his, I think, his weaknesses too much.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think the club will give him time, just like we give Fatal time, as long as we can see the talent there. And we've seen that Fatal became a fan favorite for exactly that reason. So yeah, Diego, okay, thank you so much. Again, I'll leave the link to your Twitter and everything down below, but feel free to plug away as well. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, of course. I'm at Rody Foxes in Twitter. I'm there, probably retweeting more than anything else. I don't really tweet too much, but I'm always around. I'm always looking at what's going on, so I'm always I think up to date with all the Leicester news, and obviously guys follow Neil. Obviously, at Beyond the 90. You know, Neil's always done great content, and I'm always glad to be here, and obviously give my opinion on things.
Cool. No, appreciate that, Diego. And again, we've got more than happy to have you jump on in the shows and stuff going forward. Make sure you like, subscribe, everybody. Appreciate Diego for a moment. Again, his Twitter is in the chat, so make sure to go and click the first link in the description. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.